This is goldenrod. Well, not all of that's goldenrod. Specifically, the goldenrod looks like this. You can recognize it pretty easily by these golden yellow, densely packed branching clusters of flowers called inflorescences. Goldenrod likes to bloom in late summer to early fall, and as you can see, it's not the only flower that's popping during this time of year. This white flower here, for example, is boneset, or at least I think it is. The distinguishing characteristic that gives it away as boneset are these leaves that seem to have the stem growing right through them. Boneset is another medicinal plant that holds a place in many apothecary medicine cabinets. The plant was traditionally used to treat respiratory issues, colds, flus, fevers, and arthritic pain, as well as some digestive issues. It was not used to heal or set broken bones, as one might think upon hearing the name. Instead, its name comes from the fact that it was used to treat the severe muscle and bone aches that accompanied the flu, a condition that they called break bone fever. But this is not a beginner plant to be foraging for, because there's a very toxic lookalike for this stuff called snake root, and I'm not quite to a point where I'm comfortable with my identification on things like this. I'm pretty positive this is boneset based on the leaf arrangement that we just saw, but I'm not going to mess with it. Then there's this beauty, the blue mist flower. I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on camera, but these things are shockingly vibrant in person. It's probably my favorite flower that's in bloom during this time of year. While blue mist flower did have some traditional medicinal uses, it's mostly just used as a decorative plant these days. However, there is some science that suggests the plant may have antifungal and anti-inflammatory properties, and it may even kill ticks and other parasites. But despite the fact that it was once used medicinally, blue mist flower is considered to be toxic if ingested by humans and a lot of animals. And not to be mistaken for blue mist flower, this purple flowered plant is ironweed. While not generally considered to be toxic, it's not really palatable due to its bitter taste, but it has been used traditionally for a handful of different medicinal purposes. Here we have some common ragweed. Now, believe it or not, this plant is said to be one of the plants that is most commonly mistaken for goldenrod, which I honestly don't understand. This green, inconspicuous looking thing right here is the ragweed flower, and it never turns any shade of yellow, so it never even resembles goldenrod at all. And the leaves aren't even similar. Compare these dainty, soft, feather-like leaves of the common ragweed to the rough-to-the-touch, spear-like leaves of goldenrod. Any forager who has educated themselves at all should be able to instantly tell these two plants apart. And there's another type of ragweed that is commonly found growing in the same types of areas as goldenrod, the giant ragweed. The leaves of this plant are not feathery like the common ragweed. They look more like some kind of three-toed monster footprint, if you ask me. But they're still not very similar to the long, thin, spear-like leaves of goldenrod. And again, no one should confuse these green-colored flowers with the golden yellow inflorescences of goldenrod. And it's a good thing, because both species of ragweed are toxic if ingested by humans. This one here is Iva annua, commonly called sumpweed or annual marsh elder. This plant can be mistaken for giant ragweed as well as wild amaranth, which we call pigweed in these parts. And while there are several differences between sumpweed and both of these other plants, one of the easiest way to tell them apart are these little bracts on the sumpweed flowers. Neither giant ragweed nor wild amaranth have these. Also, sumpweed has a resinous tar or turpentine smell when the leaves are crushed, whereas giant ragweed has a bitter grassy smell, and crushed amaranth leaves don't usually smell strongly at all. There are just a few more plants that I want to mention before moving on to the star of this show, mainly because they do boast yellow flowers that, to the uninitiated, may seem like goldenrod. This one is called bitter sneezeweed. While its flowers are yellow, they look nothing like the inflorescences of tiny flowers on the goldenrod. This plant is toxic to both humans and animals. Other yellow-colored flowers that you may want to watch out for when foraging goldenrod are ragworts and groundsels. While both of these flowers share that similar golden hue as goldenrod, both should be easily distinguished from it just by glancing at the leaves and the flower shapes. But fair warning, both of these plants are toxic, so you gotta be sure you know what you're looking for when foraging goldenrod. And finally, there's one last plant that I think is worth mentioning, and that is Isocoma pluriflora, or as it's known in some reference material, Haplopappus heterophyllus. This is commonly called rayless goldenrod. Now, we don't have this plant in my region of the United States, so I'm not very familiar with it. However, if you live in the southwestern United States and down into Mexico, you may run into it, and it is vital that you know how to tell it apart from solidago species of goldenrod, because rayless goldenrod can be deadly to humans and animals. In fact, humans can be poisoned by drinking the milk of a cow that has eaten the plant. As far as I can tell, the most reliable way to distinguish it from true goldenrod is by inspecting the individual florets, and for this, we're going to need to get up close and personal with goldenrod flowers. The flowers of goldenrod grow in branching clusters called an inflorescence, and the shape of that inflorescence can vary by species. While it might look like there are just a few flowers, there are actually dozens or even hundreds packed into these clusters. What looks like a single flower from a distance is called a capitulum, and each capitulum is made up of many tiny flowers called florets. This took me a while to get, so I'm going to try and break it down for us. The entire cluster of flowers at the end of a stem is referred to as an inflorescence. Some plants have a single stem with one inflorescence, while others branch into multiple stems, each forming its own inflorescence. Within a single inflorescence, there may be several branches, and each branch is made up of dozens of capitula, the roundish tubular structures that look like individual flowers. Notice I said they look like individual flowers. They are not. Each capitulum can contain dozens of tiny florets, which are these little structures, as well as these little structures. These things constitute an individual flower on goldenrod. Did you notice that a capitulum can contain two distinct floret types? These little tubular ones, closer to the middle, are called disc florets, and they possess both stamen, the pollen-producing part of a flower, and a pistil, the structure that gets fertilized and produces seeds. These flashier-looking florets on the outer edges, the ones that look more like individual petals, are called ray florets. Ray florets do not possess stamen, and they may or may not even have a pistil. Those that do not possess a pistil will be sterile and will not produce seeds, but even those with a pistil are less likely to be pollinated than the disc florets. So, now that we have an understanding of why most goldenrod species are considered rayed flowers, we can better understand why Haplopappus heterophyllus is called rayless goldenrod. Its flowers only have the tubular-shaped disc florets and completely lacks the more showy ray florets. This is the key distinguishing characteristic between rayless goldenrod and most true goldenrod species. We should note that some solidago species do lack those ray florets, so if you avoid golden-colored flowers that lack ray florets, you may miss out on a few real goldenrod flowers, but you'll still be alive. There are other species of rayless goldenrod in the United States, with many of them, especially those in the Isocoma or Haplopappus genera, being toxic. Luckily, here where I'm at, we only have those true goldenrod species, so I'm not very familiar with the rayless goldenrod. However, if you plan on foraging for goldenrod where you live, you'll need to do your own region-specific research. Also, please note that this video should only be used as a piece of your research puzzle, so you should definitely seek out a number of sources, and preferably even find a local expert to learn from in person before considering yourself knowledgeable about plant identification. But hopefully this video was useful in helping you to identify what is, and more importantly, what is not goldenrod. If so, please click that like button and stay tuned. In future videos, we're going to be harvesting some goldenrod and using it to make some teas and tinctures. So if that's something that interests you, you probably want to ring the notification bell so you'll know when to be back for more daily, sustainable living.